Everyone. Good morning, everyone. This is David Chen here again. Really, time flies. It's already another week. I can't believe it. So last week we took the section commercial real estate number 2. Today is the section number 3. As I mentioned last time, so today we are talking about how to sell small business. So I will talk about it from the listing side and from the buyer's agent side as well. So I will focus later on the buying agent side, how to prepare the offer. So we go through the process. So after I finish the slides here. So basically we go through the theory first, and later on, as I say, we're going to do offer, how to prepare the offer, to presenting your client, okay? So this is the third session for selling and buying small business. A lot of agents that I remember that say, oh, David, I don't do too much sell business. So even this morning that one of our colleagues came to see me that say, I lost my clients because I did not know how to sell a small business. So it happened from time to time. So that's the reason I said to our colleagues, no matter what, if you are not doing commercial, that's fine. You can, if you have time, come to the training, come to the section, we can start it, we can learn together. So in this way, you learn something and you will help your client on the road, right? So, and the selling small business, not like a real estate property. Last week, we did something that say how to sell commercial properties because that's really totally different from residential. I mean, in the evaluation, but in small business selling, the same thing that you have to know how to do estimate, how to do evaluate it, the pricing. So when you are talking about selling small business, people will, when you search, look on the listing, you will find out with property or without property, right? So that's a kind of called type of business for sale. Some people really say, oh, I want to sell restaurant, coffee shop with a property. But in many, many cases, please make sure selling business, they are selling without the property. Please make sure. When you sell business without profit, in many cases, you make sure what kind of business they're selling, right? And it's traditionally, they're selling a lot of things, what should be like a restaurant and quite food related. So in a restaurant, coffee shop, bars, sport bar, or whatever they call it, food related. The other things like more commonly sell is convenience store, we call variety store. Of course, there's some other retail store like supermarket, some other small business as well. So when your client asks you to sell or to buy something, you make sure what kind of business they're looking for and you want to sell. That's important. All right. So I will not touch too much in the details about it. And you see that in the market, when you check a listing, you look at different type of business for sale there for sure. So these are some restaurant, coffee shop, whatever I sold before a long time ago, right? And just show you. And still that there are a lot of franchise store like Tim Hortons, Pizza, and even I saw that used to sell Second Cup, Timothy, those kind of coffee shop as well. So those are franchise brand name. So make sure when you sell those kinds of franchise business, this will be a little more complicated. But anyway, it's the process is similar. Only that sometimes the way to deal with the documentation, those kind of things, it's different. So that's the example I show to our colleagues, what kind of business for sale in the market there, right? And important is if you are representing the buyer or if you represent the seller, you have to make sure that what you need to do, what you need to know. The people will be asking, David, I want to sell my business. You have to make sure what you your answer, how do you get back to your client? So as I said, some colleagues say, David, we never touch anything. What I can answer, what I can reply to my client. So in this way, that's why I said, come to watch the training, come to see the video, or you can call us, call me, call Sammy, or some Scott. Of course, Tony is busy, but for small business, I can, whenever you need it, you can call us. So we go through the process. I don't want you to lose your client. Some people say, oh, I sell very good in residential, but in commercial for selling such kind of business, I need someone help. Yeah, our office can assign you or can tell you who you can work with you as well. So that's fine, right? So as for the buyer, so you different process. As for the listening, of course, that's not, again, it's different from the buyer side, right? So in a lot of cases, so I suggest you get familiar with the process first, on in what kind of position you are. So in that way, you know how to deal with that, right? So I will not touch too much there because it's really complicated. A lot of things we need to talk about. So basically, one thing, if you are a listing agent, as I mentioned at the beginning, I will talk about in general about listing agent and buyer agent. So if you are the listing agent, so someone asks you to sell something, small business, so you need to know the process. So this is a few questions I listed out here. That's why I said, if you don't know how to reply to your client, that's a kind of listing. Make sure you can step by step, you make sure to do that. So basically, in many cases, for sure, you have to know the same thing like qualify your client, qualify client seller, buyer, also the same thing, qualify. So in this case, in the listing agent, before you do listing the business for sale, just like residential, you need to know what kind, how they want to sell this stuff. So in this way, you make sure what the background of the seller. That means how long has been they running the business here. So 1 year, 10 years, 20 years. I remember I sold one of the convenience store. The couple, the Korean couple, they've been there for 25 years. So you have to know the history. The longer this in a business, that means if you want to sell, there's something you can smell something maybe better for you to sell. If someone say, I just took over last year, a few months, I want to sell it again. So there be maybe something wrong there, right? So you need to know the background there. So the first one important is history, right? The second, of course, you have to know what type of business for sale. That's a coffee shop, food related, or that convenience store, or you have to see is they franchise or not franchise, right? And number three, that's important for the listing agent. You want to listen for a business for sale. You have to know how the business activity. That means what they are doing, how they are doing. They're doing good, they're doing bad. Make sure that they say, generally, we ask them, just what is your selling? What's the sale in the business? So how many you are making? By convenience store, we normally say weekly sale. Sometimes they can monthly sale. Of course, some other coffee shop, restaurant, they go by annual sale as well, right? So you have to make sure what kind of sales they are doing, right? Number two is you have to make sure their ops out, they're open. Some convenience store, they open 7 days a week, 13 hours a day. So you make sure that kind of thing you will tell that the buyer agent, when they come call you, you know how to answer that, right? And of course, when selling business, the same thing like selling residential. If the people always ask to want to show convenient to show the business to the client, to the buyer, because some restaurant they say, David, I just open, let's say, open for dinner. So during dinner time is busy. I don't want to show that time. So as a listing agent, you always have to get everything ready. So in that way, when you prepare the listening uploading, you know how to showing instruction, make sure it's there. And also, because in many cases, when you sell small business, as I said, without property, the business is running in lease premises. That means they have a lease with the landlord. So as a leasing agent, you have to make sure what's the lease term, how many years to go, and any option to renew. And of course, the basic one was a rental payment monthly. Net rent, TMI, how much they're paying. So in that way, you need those numbers to work out the income, the net profit. Later on, you need to do that. And also, if the business has been there for, let's say, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years already, you need other seller to provide you the last 3 years financial statements. Normally go by income statement, balance sheet. So in that way, the buyer, even later on, they will ask the buyer agent as well to say, hey, I need to see the financial, what's financial status. So without that one, how can they determine the price, right? So those are kind of important thing for the listing agent. Not only listing agent, as a buyer agent, you need to know those kind of things as the same thing. Because before you prepare the offer or before you show the business to your client, you need know something in hand, in your mind already, whether it's good for me to show the business, or even it's good for my client. If they don't, fit to your client's requirement, then no point to show, right? Don't waste your time there, right? Some other issue, of course, as a listing agent, you need to know as well, because many buyer agent will always call you, David. Why they want to sell at convenience store? Why they want to sell the food court outlet? Why they want to sell the restaurant? You need to remember to find out what's the reason from the seller. I remember that some other new construction, let's say the condo building, the complex, the sell convenience store say, oh, maybe that the across street, they're going to open something, the new supermarket, whatever. So that will affect the buyer, prospect buyer. The buyer will say, oh, if they open up another store, they affect my business in future. So those kind of things, if you know, you have disclosed. If you don't, of course, the buyer agent, you sometimes need help with the client to find out as well, right? So those are kind of things in detail. Later on, you need step by step to verify. So as for listing agent, I said buyer agent, you need the same process, what I mentioned just now there. So here I have a quick the business evaluation process. I don't want to touch it in much detail one by one, because as I said, we go later on to go find something, we do the offer. From there, we can talk about in detail as well, right? So the process for estimated the evaluation of business is different from sale of property, as I mentioned to our colleagues last week. So in selling commercial property, we have three approaches. Maybe someone attended last week, you knew that, right? Cost approach, comparable approach, also cap rate. So that's for property. But for business evaluation, how to determine the pricing, so that be totally different from the property. So number one here, just a list of something for sales, business, make sure the sales. Sales, and here I mentioned here for convenience store, right? So sales, you have the weekly, monthly, or annual sales. That's the one. So when you determine the sales, then next one you have to know what's the cost of goods sold. Let's say for convenience or for coffee shop, let's say for beers at for the bar. So there's something, oh, I sell the beer $6. My cost is $4. So I make $2 gross margin. So those kinds of need to know what's the cost. For convenience store, that's totally different. Convenience store, even the sales, let's say weekly sale at 10,000, 20,000, does not mean anything. You need to know what's the cost there. Some, as I remember the 12 and the college in a few section last year, the section again. So one of my clients sold the convenience store. They sold a lot, 100,000 per week. But what are they selling? Cigarettes. So they sell the cigarette profit margin at that time is higher, 20% something. But nowadays, I spoke to one of my clients last week, that's convenience store. Their secret profit so far now is about 10%, even the better one, 12, 13%. So you have to know what they're selling. In that way, determine the cost of goods sold, right? So that's the second one you need to know. From a listing agent, you work out this way because you want to give your client your advice. Hey, how much you want? I can list for you for sale, right? So that's the kind of thing. As buy agent, when you prepare the offer, the same thing. I have to know the sales is $1 million a year, but I need to know what's the cost. 40%, 50%, 70%. You have to know that the cost, right? So that's number two. Number three, we call the gross profit. That means after cost of goods sold, then you reach to the gross profit. So it means the sales minus the cost of goods sold, you get gross profit. So that the cost, remember, is called cost of goods sold. They call that let's say the easy meaning means the cost is a material. That means you not important. You buy something from wholesale. That's the cost, right? So the different wholesale, they have different costs. You have different resources. So that's kind of thing. So when you reach gross profit, so you remember 40%. Let's say the convenience solution normally about 70% or from 60 to 70%, that's the cost when you buy material, buy something from there, right? So that's the one number you reach. And the next one, of course, you will see when you got that the gross profit does not mean that's the money they're making, right? It's not impossible. So you have to know operating expenses. We call it is operating cost. So in this way, again, listing agent, you have to ask the client, the seller, to get everything ready for you, right? And as a buy agent, of course, you will ask the listing agent, I need a breakdown as well. Otherwise, how can you work out that the net profit, right? So that's operating cost. You will see, I listed here, the basic one, major important is rent. Rental payment is a major cost in all business because they lease the promise for operating their business, right? So the rent is a major rule, major item in operating costs. Some place maybe from couple thousand, 5,000. I saw that some restaurant 20,000, 30,000 per month. You make sure that the how to work out, right? So that's a major item. The next item, of course, payroll. Payroll that depends on what kind of business. So as I mentioned at the beginning, if it's some restaurant, let's say some supermarket, of course, they have more manpower. But if a convenience store, of course, only husband and wife. Sometimes some convenience hire some helper. So those small business that are different. So you have to make sure that's the one of the costs in running this business. Other item, of course, is smaller issue, insurance, utility, right? Whatever you pay for, license fee, and also that a professional fee like accountant, bookkeeping, those things is a small item. So even the telephone, even the other issue, only that very small one. Right? So the final one, as I said, after you got the gross profit, then you will see what's net income. So that means from gross profit, we work out minus all operating costs. You will see that's the net profit. So in the market, the people when you buy even the listing agent, when you estimate or evaluate the business for sale, you make sure what's net profit per year, annual, we work out an annual. And it's common practice. A lot of people ask me, David, how much I can tell my client to sell at the restaurant, sell at the convenience store, sell at the coffee shop. I cannot answer you. I mean, the only one price is different. Every type of business is really different. So as I mentioned I think in the last section, last year, the sell business. So in many cases, let's say sell convenience store, if you want to sell it, normally go by 1 year return. That means 1 year net profit. The maximum 1 to 1.5 year maximum. Some people, I think, used to be many years ago, 2 years return because the market is different. At that time, not too many competition, but nowadays, convenience store is everywhere on the street. You will see next few shops will be convenience store, so that's a lot of competition. In that way, you need only one. If you are buying agent, go by 1 year for convenience store. Even some restaurant, I remember that some, I'm not talking about franchise, okay? Individual, let's say restaurant, they sometimes even at 1 year, because the reason is because different menu, maybe the customers are different, right? So if you don't know how to run it, even less than a year, and some people don't make money, they want to sell it. So that's the 1 year net income coming. If for the franchise business, I saw used to be our office next door needed to be country style coffee shop. I saw at one time over 600,000. Later on, they sell it again and again. I know few owners because I sold two owners at the time from 600,000, 400,000, and the last one going 100,000. So that's just totally different, right? So if for franchise brand name, you go by normally food court is a franchise 3 years net income, 3 years of return. Some other restaurant, some other business 5 years too, also. And I remember like Tim Horton, it's not easy to get it to listen for Tim Horton because they go by corporate, by the head office. So in those kind of business, they're going by around 7, 8 years net profit return. So that's different. Again, as I say, even myself, I don't know what the real pricing you need and how many years of return to do that. You need to sit down with your client, do the whole estimate, because a lot of issues there, location and rental, that's I said, the rental is important, and other issue is that the customer potential competition, those all the factors you need to consider before you reach the price for listing agent or for buy agent. So those are the things you need to remember. Okay, so basically that's a process and evaluation. Use some number, some thing you need to remember for that. So that's a kind of as I said here, and also some business as again you don't go by 1 year or 2 years or 3 years net profit return, because some business they just open about a year or two, but they spend a lot leasehold improvement. I remember one of my clients spent $1 million for renovation for leasehold improvement. You say they did not run for too long yet. They still the business still on the way to growing up. So in this way, you say by 1 year they don't make money. So at the first year, second year, don't make money, but still long term they make money. So in this way, they are selling assets. We call it asset. Assets, that means that the renovation, that leasehold improvement, let's say $1 million, you can go by, let's say 1 year, depreciate 10% of 1 year or 20% is up to, depend on, again, the kind of leasehold improvement. Right? So in this way, they're selling only that lease on improvement asset, equipment. So I remember the therapy store, like a lot of therapy store, like spa, whatever, they put a lot of equipment there, right? So if they don't make money, they say, I only make 20,000 a year. Do you mean you pay me 20,000 only? No way, right? I spend asset 100,000, maybe 200,000 for assets. I'm selling asset there as well. The asset is brand new, how much? After depreciation, so that's another price. So this one will be make something reasonable, right? So that, as I said, so that evaluation depends on a lot of factors, okay? So here, as I will quickly as as a listing agent, you need a package. So you will go to web form, create a transaction. You will see what forms there. So those forms here, I list here is the old form. So you need to update the new form there as well. So that's for listing agent. It's doesn't matter. You can go to the web form and find easy to find all the package. As buy agent, the same thing that we have updated already. So this way you have all forms for the buying side. So before you put the offer, you had to go through get familiar with the forms there. So in that way, so you find out what you needed, and then you can prepare the offer there. So, and there are a lot of issues there, and I cannot go through all the details because in this way, before you prepare offer, what you need to do as a listing agent, as buy agent, there's those kinds of things you need to know, right? So because as I said, we focus on buyer side today for offer, how to prepare offer. Number one, to search the business for your client. Number two will be prepare offer. Then I will talk about in the offer, what kind of clause, condition is important for your buyer side. In this way, you need to know how to protect your client, okay? So these are some slides. I don't need to go through one by one. So this offer I will talk about after that. So just some list for you to know, remember this, right? Sometimes I always said to our colleagues, so you don't need to know everything. Even I don't know myself everything. You need to know where to find it. That's stuff. The same thing like in your search listing, where you can find before you prepare offer. So our office website is already have the package, right? So you go by the package. So if you still cannot find anything, you may see we have training video there as well. So if you still not confident and you don't know anything, come back to call us, call me, Sammy, and Coleman, and Scott some as well. So we help you out, okay? So a lot is, as I mentioned in the last slide about all the offers, conditions, I don't need to mention anything now. So let's going back to real world, going to the searching, how to do searching, how to set up that, find out that something for a client, and then so after the searching, we do the offer to prepare the offer. I will talk about the general for the offer, basic term. Yeah, okay. So let's move on. Let me start this sharing first. We're going on MLS. Let me open MLS first. Oh, how come I don't get? Time to open the window. Ian, can you come? Ian, can you come help me? This the window. Huh? Yeah. I tried to open the. If my laptop will be easy. I want to get MS now. Try to click here.
这是登录线。
MS.
对，
Then, okay. Preset location. Just give me a minute. Yeah, I need to share it. 下次把我的电脑。Okay, got it. Thank you, Yi. Yeah, and as I said, that we're going now to start from searching on MLS. Here, the window, everyone, the same thing like residential, right? So you're going to room. That the issue here, we see how do you, I don't want this, I mean, some people say, wow, how do you do searching for selling, buying, and business? So that way will be sometimes harder. I don't want you to waste too much time. You need to do what? To do narrow down, to try to, as soon as whatever as possible. Do searching. From searching, you see, you find the location. So the important always is say, that's why at the beginning I said, you need to qualify your client. We are talking about buying side now, okay, not listening. So you have to know location. The people say, oh, David, I want to buy a convenience store or a coffee shop. You need to know where they are going to buy, which location. You say, oh, Toronto, okay, let's go Toronto, okay. So they will be here. Come on. I'm not using mouse. Really.
Yeah, probably type T.
Something like that type is,
T, yeah.
yeah, it's coming. Okay, let's say in Toronto, I don't want to touch anything else, right? Here, of course, for sale, you have the same thing available for sale, and you need it here. But here, not freehold. Remember, this remove the freehold. That's commercial for sale. Here, the important when you're searching a lot of here, you say commercial, retail, whatever. We are talking about sale of business. Remember, okay? This one without a profit. Last time I said at the beginning, right? Store with apartment with office. That means Chinese say 商居下铺, store with apartment. That's the 商居下铺, okay? So here we're talking about only buying business. So you don't buy industrial. Last week we're talking about industrial investment, right? So it's commercial for sale business. Then that's done. We go into the price. That's why I said if you know your client want to buy something like we're talking about, let's say the convenience store, right? It's easy for us to start with. The price will be from, I know their budget, right? They say from 100,000. Remember, I give you some advice to our colleagues. Some people, when they say, David, I want to buy business, you have to know, qualify your client. What kind of business do you want to buy? You have to ask them. They say, oh, anything, make money. How much money you want to make? They say 100,000, 200,000. I remember last year, like one client said, David, can you help me to buy a business? I say, what kind of business? I have to know their background. If they don't know anything about restaurant, coffee shop easy, Chinese restaurant or Korean restaurant, sushi restaurant. If they don't have any experience, I said, David, if you have never do any business like this, even I give you at the restaurant or the coffee shop or whatever, free to you to run, you don't make money. So that's why I say background important to qualify, the number one. Number two, of course, they say, I want to make 100,000, okay, based on the income they want, the net income. So you will see how much they can buy, right? From 100,000 net profit, so we are talking about 200,000, maybe around 300,000 in that price range. So that's why I said I can start from 100,000. The minimum, the maximum, how much will be maybe in this. The client tell me that the price, I mean that in their budget, in their mind, will be make money 100 to 200,000 net income per year. So that's the kind of price range I can set out in my mind, right? Also, remember that if they are making that the kind of money, I mean, if they ask want to buy the business like 100,000 or 200,000, that kind of budget, you make sure what the down payment in a hand You say, are you ready to pay? Because some business like convenience store, some restaurant, sometimes the bank will not lend you money. Or if they lend you money, it depends on how the business operating. So that's important, right? And of course, as some nowadays the government has small business loan to help the small entrepreneur. So it helps the people to set up their business. That's another way. But this small business loan, I remember it's not too much, less than 100,000 probably. But still, the bank, if you lend money for financing to business for sale, mostly the financing the leasehold improvement equipment. So that's why at the beginning I said you need to ask the seller how much assets you have, leasehold improvement equipment, how much will be. So in that way, it will be easy for the buyer later on to ask for a mortgage for financing. All right. So that's the pricing range. I'm done here. This for price for sale. Okay. So let's done this side. Going to next, more filters. More filter means what kind of business they want to buy. In this way, you need to search the time business you want to buy. Here, I don't want to touch too much. Only here. Remember, when you do listing, you see there's a category. What kind of category mean what type of business? In many cases, some listing agent did not put too much in detail. Of course, you say business, right? If I were you, I don't touch anything here. I only go to use. So as I said, because my client tell me, David, I want you to just buy convenience store. That's what we are talking about today's offer, right? So convenience store, I only, as they say, the price range around 200,000. So already the price range is there. So here for the use, a lot of details, you go one by from A to Z, you can find anything. But again, as I say, my clients already buy convenience store. I don't want to touch other things. So I go to convenience store. You can choose anything, okay? Coffee shop, you see? You can go coffee shop, you see? Donut shop, as I say, I sold country style. I sold used coffee time as well. So many coffee time. I used to know and the head office coffee time in Progress and Kennedy. I went to the head office many times. So at that time they asked me for help. Say, David, please help me to promote it. So I know them, many of them. So coffee shop. So here again, I don't want to touch it. So I'm going to do a convenience store variety. The convenience store called a variety, right? You see, convenience store variety. When you look at that, so I just specifically, I don't want to waste time, right? So that's done, convenience store. Some people say, oh, can we see our office? And I want to try any listing our office agent selling convenience store here. So you, in this way, you go to at the bottom, add a field. The same thing like residential, okay? Residential, let's just say I want to search some power of sale or some estate property. Yes, the same thing like there. So here you can add the field, and then you can broker the name or phone number. In this case, I did already. I think last time I already. I don't want to use it because I searched this morning. Our office no convenience store over 100,000 in Toronto area. Only one I found in Vaughan, 139,000. That one convenience store in our office. That means we are not active.
I think we have one in the Danforth.
Denver, yeah, that's a new one probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
The president, yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I saw that. So anyway, so here I don't want to touch too much there because not much time. Let's go here. Let's quickly, okay? We found in this price range in Toronto, 29 stores for sale. Look, we can go pick up few one, then we do the offer there, okay? Let's go to first one first. Look, it's also 100,000, right? That's what is falling into our client need. So here, make it easy to see. People say, how can I see one page? Okay, you can go to print. listening of detail, you have to know broker full sheet here, okay? So you mean once you can see one sheet print. In this way, you will see everything maybe one page. Okay, make it easy for you. Yeah, right? Can you see it? Yeah, let me see. How can I make it larger here? If I close. I want to make it larger, but I cannot. 你知道怎么办放大这个？
I don't think we can.
We cannot, right? Because I want to show the full page here.
You can only save it and then open it.
Save and open. That's not good idea because I need to show everyone in that way. Maybe not good idea. Anyway, so I showed the way. Listen, yeah. So you will see this one is 100,000 for sale, okay? And sometimes they told you what you see description. Sorry. Yeah, and like in my laptop easy. Here, I'll move on. Let me move it down.
用两个手指一起往上。
No. Oh, I can't believe it. I want to move it down here.
就是用两个手指一起往上推。
对啊，推啊。
哦。
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, so I want you to see some description here, okay? So in this way, I just take example. Let's 100, they ask for you see what they're making. They call generate a lottery commission nearly 70,000 per year. So it looks like commission income is good for this location. Different convenience or location, depending on location, so the selling different. I remember I saw one convenience, Warden and Finch, Warden Shepherd. The commission every month about 6,000, 7,000. What does it mean? That means they can cover the rent already. So anything else, you sell grocery, variety, everything, that's your profit. So that's good. So when you sell convenience store, you will see what they're making commission. That's a good sign, right? So this is the one. And the other thing you will see, they did not mention other sales because the commission for lottery is a good thing. That's why the advertising. You will see that the lease, they call the low rent, 2,000, 2,100 per month, TMI included. So that's good. And so they depend on what they are selling other stuff. Weekly, how much will be, whatever, right? They did not mention about it. But the lease, they say mention new lease, 5 plus 5, right? Yeah, 5 plus 5. So that kind of thing you need to know as a buyer agent. As a listing agent, you need to prepare this thing to show to the buyer agent, right? So that's the thing you need to, as a buyer agent, remember to find out this one. So let's move on the next listing to see anything they can show us. So the second one, they're asking for, again, 100,000. You see that it looks like from okay, let's see. This one they did not mention too much here. No sales, no rent. So if I were a listing agent, I would tell more details there. Make it easy for the buyer agent to tell the client, right? So again, as a buyer agent, number one, when you qualify already, the price range is falling into my client's budget. Number two, the location looks good. If they don't have anything else, I will call the listing agent. Hey, David, I saw the listing there in the location. That's my client looking for. Can you tell me a little more about it? So you need to ask the listing agent for every details. So of course, the listing agent, normally they will not tell you too much in the detail. There's some people, they say, David, if you want to know something, sign a non-disclosure agreement. That means confidentiality agreement. So if I disclose to you, you need to keep that confidential only for you and your client. So that's called confidentiality agreement. So if you don't say anything, I will not give you anything. Some agents say, I need a financial statement. Can you send me a copy? No way. As a listing agent, I will not disclose anything. Then number two, if you bring the offer, what we call a conditional offer. In that way, I will send you a financial statement, whatever other information. So when you offer accepted, deposit paid, I will do that for you, right? So if the listing agent. Anyway, for buy agent, you can talk to your listing agent for general verbally say, what's the sales, weekly sale, monthly sale, or annual sale? What's approximate net income? Based on that, you need to do, to make a decision, see whether it's good for your client or not. So let's move on, get a few listings to see the better one. Let's see. I showed something already there, right? Let's see. This is how much it run? 120. So we can get a little more. So this is a convenience a cornerstone. You know, this one asked for the 139,000. Let's see if we have anything description there. Oh, here you got it. This one is not as good as the last one. Look here, that the lottery income, 25,000 a year. Okay, the rent 3,200 per month. The only thing, look, this question we know. That's the listing agent always say. Weekly sale 10,000. So convenience store, anything goes above 10,000, or I remember something 15,000, 17,000 per month, per week, maybe looks like good side. But if normally a lot of small convenience store, less than 10,000, 7,000, 8,000 per week. So they go by that way. So based on this one, you can work out, what the pricing will be. The good thing he also said, look, convenience store, what? The sale 10,000 per week, 25% from sales is cigarettes. That means cigarettes portion is low. It's good one. Because cigarettes profit, you see, they mentioned already 15%. That means good one, right? So 15% profit for a cigarette, not like grocery. Grocery will be 25%, 30%, some even 35% gross margin. But here, the good thing is 25%. I remember just now at the beginning, I mentioned to you guys, I sold one convenience store, they make it 100,000 per week. They 85% cigarettes. So that's a really total different, right? So convenience store, if the more higher cigarette sale portion, maybe profit getting down lower, right? So remember that. Okay, based on that one, a lot of convenience store, because we are talking about convenience store today, right? Many of them there already. And here you see this one, 100,000. Some such as 649 is selling in convenience store. They mentioned about 649, whatever here. Look, right? And what the sales? I'm looking for the sales. They have 20 years. The business been running 20 years. History is good, but did not say too much did not say anything about sales. So looks like not. If my client really want this location, I will call listing agent. Okay. So anyway, we cannot go one by one. Let's go to if we decide to go for the offer. Let's say, going back. So the one we talked about just now, remember that they have good commission. And what about this? 127 Remax per month. Yeah, this one again, they don't have. Only talking about the lease 5 years, 5 plus 5, and the rent is 4,700 per month, and the sales. Oh, they have liquor license. The good thing is liquor license. Net all. Look here. net income. You will see from this one that the price in the over asking the price is too much higher, right? So that way it's not easy to sell. 50,000 per year convenience store, as I mentioned, is only about a year, a year, 1 year and 1.5, unless they show more potential. They say, oh, this is not the real sale and something is different, right? So you see, that's the one thing. Yeah, how many days is in the market? Oh, just 15 days. Yeah, yeah. So let's say this is the right one for your client. Okay, let's bring an offer. What you can do? Let's go into this because we cannot go one by one. Okay, so you go to this is the right one. Let's say we go to what form. From what form you see already. So that's okay. Login.9 temporary will be sell commercial sales. Commercial sales offer to discount the commercial business for sale without property. Okay, so also MS number is already a created transaction. So you will see the offer already built in everything mostly. I will go quickly for something, and of course, it's really not a lot of stuff. Yeah, we cannot go one by one. We go direct, go into form. You don't need it to create it. Look at here. Okay, you will see you need to sign the whole package here. Buyer agent BRA 540. So now they changed the new one 570. I think 572 or 571, whatever. It's already different. 630, 631. So unit form, you remember if everything applied to you, you need those forms. Okay. I will not touch it one by one. Again, we don't have much time here. The only thing I need to share with you here. Let's go to number 502. Okay. Then open this form. Okay, so we can see it. What's this one? Yeah, that's the form that offer the business in lease premises. That's what I said, without the property, okay? So this form, I will not touch the other stuff. Only a few things I mentioned to you. If the buyer say, hey, David, I will not use my name. I will going to set up my company. Okay, that's fine. You will say, David for a corporation to be incorporated. So that means when the offer accepted before closing, when it become firm offer, I will go into register my corporation. So the corporation, the name will be in the offer later on to close the deal, to sign the lease with the landlord. So everything will go by the corporation. If your client has no corporation there, if your client does not want to use their own name, unless they use their own name, that's fine, the David Chen, that's it, right? So other thing we needed to know, always known as what's the name of the store. You have to make sure, right? Name of store. So, and then the address. So the address will be situated, known as the address will be there, right? So the pricing, okay? For this case, as again, let's say 50,000 per year. I say go by 1 year or 1.5 year. Let's say start from 60,000. Maybe I can offer them based on the pricing, right? So that's the price. And she asking 120,000. I remember some business, small business, they sell asking too much. This in the end, when it's sold, in half price, it's possible. Depend on, yeah, it's possible. So deposit, the same thing like the residential, okay? We don't need to talk too much here. And paying the deposit, how much will be usually, if you're a listing agent, you will ask for 10% because selling business, not like the residential 5%, right? We go by 10%, it's better. So in this way, 10% will be 6,000. That one trick I can share with you as a listing agent. for selling small business like convenience store. Sometimes you ask for, let's say, 100,000, 50,000, 60,000. In the end, if you sell only half of them, 30,000, 40,000 of asking price, what are you going to do about your commission? If you are listing agent, at the beginning say, in that selling small portion, lower pricing, I will charge them, say, flat fee. Flat fee, you don't go by percentage. You can say, I sell in your business, let's say 60,000. So I charge flat fee. How much will it be? Normally we can go by 6,000 to 10,000. Then from there, I share with the buy agent half and half, right? So I remember a few years ago, I worked with some other our colleagues to sell one restaurant. They say we charge them flat fee no matter how much they sell. We ask for 25,000. We share 10, 10,000 to the buy agent, so we share the other. So this really depends on you, right? So if you feel something not easy to sell, you need to get the flat fee, because you tell the listeners and the seller, no matter what, if I cannot sell your property, you give me 100,000, it's nothing, right? So make something, reasonable, right? So that's the way I said all the time when I talk to our colleagues. You need to not only work hard, you need to work smart. Okay, what's smart? You have to know how to find out too smart. Okay, so here listing agent will be paid listing brokerage. So other thing I will not touch too much. Again, we don't have. So Schedule A, they have Schedule A. Normally have Schedule B for listing of chattel, and Schedule C probably other issue. Schedule C, if they have, right? You have to list of equipment. You call the list of equipment. And you have other thing. You can whatever put there. Okay. If you work overtime, you can normally business not like residential, 2 days, 3 days, sometimes give 4 to 5 days. It depends. Okay? Completion day, again, completion day, you need at least 2 months to 3 months. Some leasing, because the landlord takes some time to process. 2 to 3 months is very common. But I remember I saw one hotel many years ago, 8 million. It takes 6 months to close. So that's different, right? And this one, make sure we know. Number 3, HST, selling business, like selling commercial property. Because business selling will call the business to business. So as a seller, you will not charge HST on selling business. As a buyer, you don't need to pay the seller HST on the transaction. But the only thing is, if the seller sell, let's say it's a business for a convenience store, and they say, I have some inventory, have some equipment, asset to sell separate. In that case, the buyer has to pay separate HST based on that value, not the selling business transaction. Make sure, okay? So you need to talk to the accountant, some people like that. So other thing I don't need to touch here. Oh, here the title search will be again with the same like residential 2 weeks before closing. Make sure that the lawyer will do that. And also here that existing use, you have to know variety store. The reason is if you don't write anything here, leave it blank, or if you just say this commercial, this is not good, because the client later on will come back to, hey, David, I'm buying in convenience store. Why you put it for commercial? Commercial means a lot of things: retail, restaurant, other food related, whatever. So you can say, right, I just buy convenience store. Even that I need to verify with the city, variety store. Okay, make sure. A lot of stuff I don't touch here, but here is one thing you need to make sure. The lease, remember that the lease is a 5 years to go, 5 plus 5, sometimes the 2 years to go or 3 years to go. Here you don't know anything yet before you prepare offer. You have to say as per lease. Up. So as per lease, you can write on something like this, okay? If you don't have too much space here, you can put it in short, per lease. We make, because you don't have a copy of the lease yet. You don't know per lease. That's easy, okay? Because the lease term you don't know yet, okay? So that's some issue you have to remember, okay? And here, other things we don't touch here, anything too much in details. We go by directly to the Schedule A. Oh, remember your name should be here. Otherwise, how can you get your commission, right? So remember. And Schedule A, we see in the content, the important is we have all the conditions. You can look at it later, okay? And if you go to the web form, you will read through yourself. I point out a few things for you quickly. Number one, the condition, because the business is different from there. Other issue we talking about already there. So the important is the condition. What condition may be? Others will be already spelled out. Before the condition, let me share with you this one. They call inventory. Selling convenience store. That's clause. You don't miss it. Otherwise, you'll be in big trouble. So this inventory, that means I sold in the convenience store just now as we put the price, 60,000, maybe in the end, 80,000, but does not include in the inventory, the stock. That's all the stock in the store should be before closing will be counted between the seller and buyer, hire someone to count it. So the buyer has to pay to the seller according to the accounting based on the price from wholesale price or invoice price. So other than that, the seller, if they sell the store to you, they will lose money as a listing agent, right? They will complain you, hey, David, where's my inventory, right? But as a buyer agent, you need to remind your client, before you pay for 80,000 for a business, you need to prepare another, maybe 20, 30, 100, even 50,000 stock the price to pay to the seller on the closing day by the bank draft, remember, okay? So this clause, you cannot miss it. Last week, that one agent called me, David, I'm going to buy the convenience store, but I did not know how much stock there. You need to ask the listing agent, basically approximately how much will be. Otherwise, on closing, you don't have money, what you're going to do? You cannot close the deal. Then you are in big trouble. Your deposit cannot get back. You'll be sued by the seller to the small court, right? So don't remember that. So that's the one I need to remember to share with you. The other issue will be, again, as I said, the condition will be down there. Important is few things here. See, that's the one condition, the lease condition. The landlord, we have to interview you, the client, to make sure that the lease will be assignment to you or will be negotiated the lease. As a buyer agent, you will, on your side, you tell the listing agent, oh, the lease has been only 1 year and 1.5 years, not good enough for my client. I need to negotiate a new lease. So in that way, you put the condition to negotiate the new lease. We have one condition down there as well, right? So if you assume the lease, so that's the one condition just now, this one. The other condition is, that's important, is this one. This one, that means the buyer has time to observe, check the sales. And according to the listing, they say every week, 10,000 per week. My client put after offer accepted, I will go to check the business for 7 days. So we see how much sales they make per week. They say 10,000 or 8,000. So if I check only 6,000, 5,000 or 7,000, my client will not buy it. I will back up from deal unless you give me the reduction, right? So this is very important to check the sales. That's the condition. Remember, okay? And another condition is, we remember just now at the beginning, the seller has to, listing agent or seller has to prepare all the document, financial statement, copy of the lease, franchise agreement, list of chattel, those the things within 5 days. Remember, the listing agent has to prepare those. So after they give the buyer the copy of the document, the buyer has to review it for another 7 days or 10 days, whatever. So in this way, if the buyer satisfied with all the document, let's say the financial statement is good, the lease is good, then they waive the condition. Otherwise, they can back up from the deal again. Say, oh, the lease, there's so much restriction, the payment, the rental, this year is 5,000, next year 6,000, I cannot afford it. I don't want it. So you can back up the deal from there, okay? So that's the condition we need to remember, okay? Again, also down there, we put if the buyer agent, because when you're first time helping your client, you need a lawyer review this document. Lawyer review and approve the condition of that the lease, the landlord's lease. So in this way, you as agent, legal issue, I don't know anything. The lawyer will help you to approve, right? So that's the kind of thing, right? And also another thing, just now we said, because sell business sometimes they have a franchise, right? So if the franchise store here, you need to get the franchise approval. Some new people buying a business franchise, if the head office does not approve your client, they cannot take it over. Some franchise store, I remember that they need to interview the client. They not interviewed in Toronto. I remember Edmonton, there's one of the franchisor. They need to ask the client going to Edmonton for interview, for training, whatever. So in that way, if they are not qualified, so again, they cannot buy this franchise business. So please remember, of course, convenience store, some of them, many of them, they are not franchise, but some of them they do. Not like coffee shop, restaurant, the franchise have more restriction, but for convenience store, much easier, okay? So this one, I mentioned just now already, this condition, this is for the new lease, because I don't want to assume existing lease, because number one, it's too short. Number two, the rent is too high, so I need a new lease with the landlord. So this is the condition. The buyer negotiate the new lease with the landlord. Otherwise, if no lease, I will not buy it. So that's the condition, make sure, okay? Let's move on. So that this one, I remember that there's a lottery. So we are buying this convenience store, right? Convenience store, remember just now, they're making how much? 70,000 per year commission, lottery commission. So that means the buyer, if they buy the business, they have to apply for the, from the Ontario Lottery Gaming Corporation need the license to do that. To apply for the license, then that buyer had to pay the deposit to the lottery gambling commission. They need to pay the deposit as well. So the seller will help them to set up a new account. Again, I remember one thing, because some client go private sale, buyer and seller. One tricky a few years ago, they did not go through our agent. So on closing, they paid for everything. In the end, that the 649 terminal account, they did not transfer, they did not allow. The buyer lose money. The buyer coming back to the seller, oh, you did not transfer this from to me, because they don't know anything. The seller said, we closed already, I cannot do anything. So that's a kind of issues that important, because that buyer needs to get the commission when it's 649. That's important, right? Because the neighborhood, they always coming to see, to buy something because you have 649 there. Otherwise, I don't need to come here. So that's the way you make sure that license, you need to make it from that lottery gambling corporation, right? To make sure. So, and also if you, For convenience store, of course, you need that. But for convenience store, liquor license nowadays used to be you cannot sell beer. Now they can sell beer, so you need to get the license as well. So this one for the new a lot of the new convenience store used to be you cannot sell beer. Now you need it, but you have to get the license. So that way also you need it as well. So those are kind of important conditions in the offer to buy business. Again, as I say, still a lot of other issues you need to consider. Because some buyer they have different way, they have different requirement. You have to make sure what ask your client what you need, what you need add to this the schedule A. A lot of issue here. If you miss something, maybe later on, if you're a buy agent, that's your obligation. Otherwise, you'll be in trouble. You can sue you to bring your case to recall to your shop or wherever. So that's the issue you need to get clear yourself. Okay, so too much stuff is for in this offer. I will not touch anything. But again, as I say, if you are representing a buyer, please read through all the content. Something you need it, you keep it. If you don't need it, remove it. Of course, you need to modify them as well. The offer I prepared not only for buyer side, sometimes also on listing side as well, to make sure both parties get familiar with that. So this one I will not do, I mean, touch it more anymore now because this timing is not good for me. And this will be, if I'm talking about the art, maybe another hour, right? so anyway, so you again, as I said, you have to know where to find it, where you can look for the resources. That's the important. Okay, so the office is done, and other stuff I don't have time to mention to touch it. So let's see, we leave another 10 minutes to question answer. So if you have anything, you can let me know. I can answer you right away here. So we go from the next one. So let's close this window. We go from for question answer period. Okay, let's start that